Did you know that the average couple spends over 200 hours planning their wedding?
It's a lot of hours.
You're saying, say you valued your time per hour at $50 an hour. So 200 times 50 is 10 grand? Makes sense.
Or now, I feel like it could be more. How many hours do you think it took you guys?
I don't even know.
200? Do you think it was 200?
Oh, for sure. I would imagine.
Probably more.
Way more.
For planning, I don't think I took 200, but for all my DIYs.
Oh,
But
does that count towards it?
Okay, so this is from the Wedding Wire Newlywed Report in 2023, and I don't think they include DIYing. Like, I think it's just planning, like dealing with vendors, dealing with.
Wait, so you're saying, say you valued your time per hour at $50 an hour. So 200 times 50 is 10 grand? Am I doing my math right? 10,000? No, it's not 1,000. So, like, imagine $10,000 of your time.
That's a lot.
Planning a wedding.
Yeah.
If you put a dollar value to it, right? Like,
But maybe, like, it says couple, so maybe you split it into two, so 5,000, but it's still quite a lot.
it's still a dollar shock when you realize that if you valued your time at $50 an hour, $10,000 is a lot of money to be spending planning your wedding.
So, this episode is going to be about how you can stay organized during those 200 hours. Let's get into it. Hello! Welcome back to the Belles and Banter podcast. My name is Joy.
Justine.
I'm Jules.
And we're the Wedding Belles. And today's episode is going to be about how to stay organized while you're spending 200 hours planning your wedding. Before we start, I want to ask Justine and Jules, what do you think the biggest reason is that wedding planning spirals into chaos?
I think just sheer overwhelm with all the decisions that need to be made.
There's so many moving parts in a wedding,
That
right?
too.
So I feel like your mind just goes all over the place. You don't know where to start planning. You will spiral into chaos because, like, where do you start in the first place? And how do you keep organized with all the different things that you have to deal with on the wedding day, right?
So you're overwhelmed by all of these things being thrown at you the entire time, and then there's so many moving parts, and I think there's a lot of emotional aspects to it too.
For sure.
Obviously, there's family involved, and
The
there might be
bazillion questions being asked from all over the place too.
staying organized is a very valuable skill that you can bring into wedding planning, right? Because this kind of stress that comes from planning, it's really easy to spill over into everything else in your life. And burnout for wedding planning is a very common thing as well. So 71%, I saw a stat online, that 71% of engaged couples have reported wedding planning as very stressful. And that's even ranked higher than moving houses or starting a new job, which is pretty crazy. Okay, so this episode is just to get you started on the organization train. The first thing you should do when you're planning a wedding is to start setting up systems in place for you to stay organized. What would you guys do first?
If you're talking to me 10 years ago, I created a wedding binder. What you could probably do electronically now is kind of the same concept, right? You create folders, either your Google Drive, so you can share it with your partner, or put it on your desktop, whatever. Have folders for every vendor, have a main spreadsheet on the main page to track your budget, which we already talked about, and also your timeline in general and all the things you got to do.
I like pen and paper, like this traditional way.
She got married 15 years ago.
Yeah, we got married a long time ago, but I don't know, there's just a satisfaction in writing something down, like writing the check mark and whatever to-do list you have and just keeping it all in one little notebook. I think they still have those, right? Little wedding planning notebooks.
I do agree with you both. I did have a version of this. I did have a digital one. I am the younger one, the youngest of the three of us. I had an iPad that I had a digital notebook and had all of these pieces of information. But I think the most important part about staying organized for the wedding is making sure that you set up a system and you stick to it. Like, you actually use it. It doesn't do you any good if you start a binder and then you just forget about it and you're writing everything on a napkin at a restaurant.
Don't jump back and forth between notebook and then an online system or whatever, right? Because that's just going to get messy.
Stay committed. You're about to get married. Commitment, okay? Did you know people waste up to 20% of their work week looking up information?
What do you mean, like, while working?
Yeah, so like we're talking about regular work now, like not weddings, but people waste up to 20% of their work week, so a whole day out of 5 days. But I can see that. I can totally see that.
Yeah,
in my workplace, like I can see
if
how
you've got downtime. I would hope that people are doing this during their downtime, if they're doing it at all. Like,
Yep. So having this organization system to look up all of the different moving parts for a wedding is very important. So start there. It's definitely setting up a system for you that you can stick to, that's sustainable for you, that's simple enough, whether that is a analog paper and pen satisfying pen checklist or a digital one like I did. That's what the very first step that you guys should take. What was in it? What was in your wedding binder?
mine had like swatches of colors for one.
Fancy.
And like if any of like the vendors gave us paper for like either like their contract or rental companies, they gave us like a binder with their catalog or stuff, that filled up the binder really fast.
Almost 15 years ago, when I was planning my wedding, it was
Magazine pictures?
Yes.
You like cut it out?
Actually cut out little pictures that I liked.
It's like
And I would
Pinterest.
put, I think it was
manual.
like glue. I had like a manual.
You had a glue stick?
I remember just,
Okay.
I think it was tape.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
that was a long time
That
ago.
could have been a 20 years ago.
I
thing,
wouldn't
too.
do that now, but
I like that, like a little vision board.
Yeah.
I
like,
did. I actually
to be
did.
physical.
I had too much time, I
That's
guess,
really
in my
cool.
life at the time.
The design parts in your binder are really good. One important thing that I think you guys should have in it is like a timeline or a checklist of what to plan, right? Like the design is the fun part. I love that too. I guess tips from me, what I started with was I actually started working backwards from our wedding day and then really methodically put out things on my checklist from my wedding day all the way until when I started planning from. I don't know, maybe that was just me working that way. I was able to include like buffer time using this method. I was able to set hard deadlines as to when I need to have a certain vendor booked, that kind of stuff. But I think that having a master timeline or a planning checklist might be really handy to have. On top of of course, the vision board and the swatches and vendor documents and that kind of stuff. And this is a living document. I want to reiterate that because even if you set your master timeline, it might change. And that's okay. During 2020, during COVID, how many times did our clients have changes in their wedding events and all the different restrictions that were in place and stuff like that. So it's important that you have this kind of checklist that you also acknowledge is something that could change over time. So reviewing it often is a must.
Well, that's true actually, because when we were getting married, we didn't know much about planning yet because we weren't in the industry at that point. But yeah, I had the binder for the physical things, and then on Google Drive I had a shared checklist, to-do list essentially, of every single thing I should be doing 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 10 months out from the wedding, and constantly looked at it like at least once a week to make sure everything was done for that time period, or just to add things I needed, like vendor payments that we booked or deadlines or whatever. So
that's actually
helpful.
something that we always make our clients do as well as planners. We check in often. We're like, hey,
this
Are you
isn't done.
Yeah, other than checklists though, on my little notepad back then, I had the schedule of the day. So, and it was with pencil and eraser that I always, it kept changing back and forth.
Damn,
I
really?
know. Yes.
I guess
Because
also long
someone
ago.
else have edited the schedule of the day.
Microsoft Word existed.
Digital,
It
man.
changes all the time. I know I wasn't a
It
very
didn't have to be
digital
Excel.
person. I still,
Word just works fine.
yes,
Maybe
I
even
know,
PowerPoint.
but it was nice to have it on paper, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. A little pencil and eraser. I really like that.
I'll find it now somewhere.
Of course,
That's
I gotta
so
find
funny.
it.
Okay, well, we'll have to like post pictures of it on Instagram or something, and just be like, "Look at this relic."
wedding planning for the times.
I want to find it now, real bad.
So I wanted to talk a bit about tools that maybe you can employ, whether it's paper or digital notebooks. So planning timelines. There's a bunch of templates that you could actually just download off of. Even Google Sheets, I think, makes their own templates for timelines and stuff like that. So like you could download that pretty easily and set up any kind of timeline like that. If you're into any kind of like project management principles, like Kanban style, this Kanban is like basically like the bulletin board of like the things that you have to do. You could download templates that have that. Might be a good idea. Spreadsheets are like the number one thing that maybe will help you plan your wedding, and they can be really, really effective. But I do want to give you a fair warning. It has to be an effective spreadsheet. Like, it can't just be a spreadsheet that's thrown together willy-nilly. I've seen spreadsheets that don't do anything for you. They need to be set up correctly. So that's, again, staying committed to the organization principles or systems that you set in place and actually being able to find things on this spreadsheet. Sometimes the spreadsheet can make things more confusing than they should be as well. So just be really careful when you're using something as powerful as a spreadsheet to plan your wedding. Another thing that you should have in your wedding planning binder, a budget tracker. Yeah.
Spreadsheets.
More spreadsheets, right? Speaking about spreadsheets, tracking your budget honestly, like actually honestly track your budget. No, track what you're actually spending.
Honesty to the budget is important too. Because like sometimes like you make your budget at the very beginning. Okay, say it's $30,000. And then down the road, let's say your budget in that $30,000 was a $1,000 wedding dress, right? And then when you get to the day that you're buying or choosing your dress and it's over budget, like, what are you going to say? Like, is it over budget or, oh, it's no longer part of the budget? Like, you know, I think you have to be clearly defining what's in or out right off the get-go. Otherwise, it's just going to get muddy and that spreadsheet's not going to have the information that you really want to know, which is if you are on budget or not.
Track your actual spend. Nobody's judging you for your
Except
budget.
yourself.
Except for yourself, I suppose. Yeah. Or your partner. This budget is not for anyone but for you. And if you're not being true to yourself when you're writing down what you've actually spent, then that budget really means nothing. So be honest with yourself when you're doing this. On top of being honest with your actual spend, you should also be including the small things that you might not expect. You might be tempted to be like, oh, it's only like $5 to ship that. But that $5 is $5 towards your budget, right? Like, or when you're posting all of your invitations, you're like, it's only like $1 per invite. But when you're sending out 100, that's $100 towards your budget. So make sure you're including things like shipping or postage, things like tips, taxes, or even, I don't know, overtime work for your vendors or something like that. You should be including all of this in that budget spreadsheet.
I think we mentioned that right there in the earlier podcast about having like a slush fund almost for all the
Miscellaneous
emergency
and emergency funds. Yeah, that's always a good idea. Another thing for the budget tracker file, digital file, or pen and paper is a way for you to schedule reminders for yourself to pay. We could use our phones and our calendars to set up payment reminders for ourselves, but if you literally need a sticky note on your mirror to tell you that you owe money to this particular vendor, then that works too. But make sure you're keeping on top of all of the money stuff.
I used a handy dandy calendar, like paper calendar.
Did you actually?
Yeah,
No, you
actually
didn't.
mean things that I had to do on specific dates. Like, you know those calendars you can get where there's space in between.
Okay. So if you don't want to use a paper calendar, there are also a variety of different apps that you can use to plan and to budget. So I think one of the most famous ones is probably The Knot. The Knot has an app that can do all of this for you, including track your budget. I believe their paid version, you can track it quite extensively, but yeah, you can, if you don't want to do the paper, if you don't want to set up your own systems on Google Drive or Microsoft Excel, you can probably find an app for that. Another thing that I think that you should have in your planning binders, and Jules mentioned it a little bit earlier, is everything to do with your vendors. So vendor management, vendor communication, all that kind of stuff. In your guys' experience, at what point do you think vendor miscommunication starts?
I think sometimes when you book really early on, which is a good thing that you book vendors early on, you sign this contract and everything, and then there's that long period of time where you don't really communicate with your vendor for a while until a month or 2 months before the wedding. And so I find that there's some sort of, or maybe couples forget certain things that were on the contract, and there's some miscommunication there when it comes closer to the wedding date, and you just forget little details of what you have signed up for. Maybe that's kind of what starts that big gap.
I think what you're also kind of alluding to is that the verbal communications that aren't written down on paper. Because it's verbal, there is no record of it. You don't remember it.
It's got to be written for the most
So
part, right?
like I'm a stickler for everything needs to be written down because I'll forget.
Email threads, whatever, text message threads. Yeah.
Have we ever had an instance where something verbally was promised and it didn't happen because it was forgotten? I'm trying to think. It might be a bit of a hot take, but if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist in my books. Email your vendors as much as you can instead of talking with them.
Yeah, because we have encountered vendors that prefer a verbal discussion
Or phone call.
but like a way to get around that, I guess, is like after you have that phone call, write everything down in an email and then email that vendor back and be like, as per your discussion, this is what we agreed to, and then have them confirm it as well. So you're protected on both ends, right? And they are too, in a sense.
Yeah, confirm all those details in writing if you can. Another thing that you could try if you're a real stickler or type A like us is keeping that communication log. So if there were any dates specifically that you had a phone call, I know this might be taking it a little bit too far, but if there were particular dates that you had a phone call, how long the phone call was, if there were any changes in decisions during that phone call, keeping a log of that might be useful in your binder as well. On top of keeping all of the communications in your binder, this is a really good place for you to centralize all of the things like your contracts and your invoices and contact info. That one is a really important one, especially if you do decide to hire planning support. Having that contact info handy that you can pass off to your planner or your coordinator is going to be really, really handy for you when it's crunch time, like a month before your wedding, and you're not scrambling trying to see who it was that you were actually talking to about your venue or your cake or whatever it was too. So again, lots of tools that are available for doing things like this. Pen and paper, of course, but also things like the cloud, so like Google, Dropbox, that kind of stuff. Organized by vendor is a really handy thing for you to use. I don't know about you guys, but I created a wedding email. Do you think that is a handy thing to do?
There was no such thing back then.
What?
I mean, it is a handy thing to do nowadays for sure, because
So like I created a wedding email.
a separate one from now.
you don't want emails about your wedding going into your personal email. It just gets confusing. You keep everything all in one place, right? It's good to have that one email. You can create an account. It's free.
Yeah, that was like one of the strategies I used, and it's like a quote unquote hack that's been going around for a while now. But I thought that it was a really handy thing to do, creating an email specifically for our wedding, which is the one that I gave to all of my vendors. So if they emailed me anything, contracts, whatever, invoices, it went to that email and I knew exactly where to look for it instead of trying to find it in my very, very messy personal email. So that might be something that you want to consider doing as well, is creating a specific wedding email for your wedding planning. even Gmail or Outlook or whatever, they have like really handy filters and tools that you can use to automatically categorize and sort all the emails that you get in. Another thing that I think you should have in your binder is your design inspo, right? So like those
That's
are
the fun part.
The fun part, yeah. It's like yeah, it is a fun part in my opinion. But I'm a little bit biased because I am more on the design side of the business anyway. But yeah, your design inspo, whether that's swatches or cutouts.
I did have swatches too.
You did you have swatches? Oh, like swatches for fabric?
Like bridesmaid fabric.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
colors. Dresses.
Okay. Having it in a centralized spot like this too also helps to take away that bit of overwhelming because like you curate it to you, which is nice. And yeah, how involved were your partners in the design process of your wedding?
Not at all.
Zero.
Yeah,
Depends on the couple.
was not involved at all in any of the wedding planning, actually.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking in terms of the partner. There usually there is one partner that cares more than the other in a wedding. I feel like from what we've experienced, and having that swatch book or like the design book where you could be like, "Hey, are you okay with this?" is actually kind of handy as well.
Oh yeah, I did show that.
Yeah, because with my husband, usually he let me do whatever I want, and I would show him little slide decks. I'd be like, "Are you okay with this?" And yeah, he was fine with that. But yeah, having everything in one place and seeing it all come together is really quite nice.
It's actually handy to have it all in that one place because there was one time my husband did ask me for, what colors should the groomsmen get for their ties? So all I had to do was, here you go, here are the pictures, these are the color swatches, and you know what we'd like for it to look like the wedding, and it was just easy to hand off. It's good information to just go, here you go.
Yeah, I took my book with me. Well, mine wasn't a book, it was my iPad. But I took my digital mood board with me to vendors to show them like what I was thinking as well, so that like I took it to my photographer. I was like, this is the vibe I'm going for, and she was super excited about it. She's like, oh, I know exactly how to shoot or where to go because I wasn't familiar with the area that we were getting married in. I think that having it all in one place like that is really quite cool. But before you finalize all the stuff of the design, tracking all the different ideas and inspiration in one place, documenting what's approved versus what's still pending, showing your partner all these kinds of things is a good idea in your wedding organization binder / folder / magazine thing. But yeah, mood boards is a very handy thing to bring with you to visual vendors. So if you are hiring a florist, for example, bringing all of the different color scheme that you have, the vibes of their wedding, it's really handy.
Even your cake vendors would like to see that kind of board, right?
Yeah, or your decorator, if you literally have a decorator, bringing that mood board with your keywords, how you want your guests to feel, that kind of thing is going to be a really nice thing to have. More things in this wedding binder. Logistics. The boring part. But specifically, guest lists first. So how did you guys track your guest list? Don't tell me you wrote it down with a pencil.
I don't remember actually how I did. Was it Dropbox?
She chiseled.
Oh, I didn't chisel any names of stuff.
Oh shoot, I gotta cross them out.
Oh, they're not invited anymore.
Damn it, I gotta start over.
I don't remember. I have to look for this binder. I really want to show you.
It was on the spreadsheet.
Yeah. I think for most people, you're likely tracking your guest list via a spreadsheet and not stone and chisel.
No, not stone and chisel. I'm not that old.
It's starting to age you.
But
okay.
I think like one tool that is very useful now is wedding websites, actually. Because wedding websites are usually an all-in-one kind of RSVP tracker and that kind of thing too. So it automatically tracks your RSVPs for you, which
The
is
Knot does that.
yeah. So the Knot,
There's a lot of
a lot of websites tracking your RSVPs real time and using different websites or using your wedding website for it might be a really handy tool. But on top of RSVPs, who's coming and who's not, tracking things like dietary restrictions and accessibility needs, anything like that is important in your workbook as well. Right? Because if you do care about your guest experience, which I'm hoping that you do, this is important information.
Even things like high chairs, booster seats, more space for certain people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all important information.
Yeah, and then this will all, having this nicely tracked, will help you when you're making the infamous seating chart.
Oh, that's 100 hours right there.
But if you don't want to use a wedding website, you can still track RSVPs kind of the old-fashioned way.
When you say old-fashioned, you mean like the birds? The birds, messenger pigeons that Justine used.
I use
What I mean by old-fashioned way is the RSVP cards.
Through messenger bird carrier pigeon.
Yeah, through carrier pigeons. No, through the snail mail system. But if you do send out RSVP cards, maybe number them off. They're a little bit easier to track that way, so that you don't. Sometimes people forget to put their names on these RSVP cards, so putting an actual number, index number, or whatever that you can look up on your own personal spreadsheet to track that RSVP will be handy for you when the pigeon delivers. So
If the pigeon makes it.
pigeon.
I do want to talk a little bit about digital versus paper. Okay? What are some of the pros of paper planning?
Sometimes I don't trust the digital. Well, now you can trust it better than what you what the trust was before. I don't know. Back then, I didn't trust all of that information going on a computer online, and then what if it gets lost? There was no such thing as having a backup this, or I don't think there was. There was Dropbox. I remember. I think there was Dropbox, but I never used it. Did I? I don't remember. But one of the pros is that you don't have to print it out. You just have the piece of paper in front of you. It's there. You don't have to log in online to find all this information. It's already in your one little notebook or binder, whatever it is that you have. I think that's what the pros are, but nowadays it's very easy to trust all of the digital information to be online.
I think
It was back then. I would say there's more pros than now. I touched this.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about in this age.
I'm really aging myself here.
I think the pro of having a hard copy of, at least nowadays, is like just the tangibility of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the feeling that you have something. Like, I think the emotional aspect of it more than it is the actual data on that piece of paper.
A nice little keepsake for later too.
That, and also just like, oh, I already have it here, so I can just, right, not have to worry about Wi-Fi connection, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, logging into
least it's-
whatever.
Because I honestly don't know what pro there is, at least from a planning standpoint,
Not nowadays.
at this point. Like what?
I think, yeah, the tangibility is great, and I think for me, I'm not somebody that likes screens very much, which is ironic again, because I feel like I'm always in front of screens. But having paper and pencil and not being bombarded with a million things on a screen, like not being connected to the internet, being offline, I think helps clear your head. Yeah, like you can really focus on the task at hand instead of being like, oh wait, I got a notification for an email, or oh, like somebody just sent me a pin for this. So I think that's a big advantage for paper, is because you're not connected to anything, and therefore you could focus on whatever is in front of you. You could be more intentional about whatever it is you're doing.
I still used the computer back then. I remember after me drafting the schedule of the day with my pencil and paper, I did eventually type everything on a computer to print out for everybody. Remember, I posted it on a door or like a wall or something.
5 pages of.
Otherwise, if you
It's
saw
long.
the paper version, only I could decipher what's written on there, really.
I think the paper is best for the actual day, the coordination of the day. Like, there's no way you could do that with digital. Like, having an actual clipboard with sheets that you can flip through. way better than having your phone out and doing things.
Because you can't rely on everybody else also having their phone
Yeah.
on the day of. But that means somebody has to be in charge of that clipboard or binder or whatever it is you bring.
Talking about your distrust of the internets or the files, like, yeah, losing files is very much a thing. Like, actually, even cloud. So when I was still in school, one of my classmates actually got hacked.
Oh no!
And so his Google Drive was hacked, so the hacker took all of the files for our final project out of it
no.
and was holding it for ransom at one point. Even these days, it's not totally safe. So having a paper copy is still advantageous in that case. But I did things digitally, so I want to say that I'm still on the digital side, I think. Right? Because I like that I didn't have to take an eraser and erase my work if I made a mistake. I just had to backspace. You know, like it was so much easier to update a digital binder than it would be to erase by hand. Maybe I'm just lazy, I don't really know. But I also like the fact that I could share it with people. So I shared it with my partner, who let me do whatever I want anyway, but I shared it with him. I shared it with my sisters, of course, so they knew exactly what I was planning with. And I also like that it was accessible everywhere. I commute a lot. Like I spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours in transit every day. And for me, being able to work on my wedding planning binder during the dead time of commuting was really handy. So that's why I'm still on the digital train, even though I acknowledge all of the pros of the paper stuff. So maybe you guys want to adopt like a hybrid system of some sort or something like that, where you have the digital planning, you have it on your phone, but then on the day of, we highly recommend that you have a printed off day of clipboard or binder or something like that. So digital planning, paper execution, maybe. But that's
You just do what works for you.
yeah, you guys do whatever works for you. Okay, basically to sum everything up here, for the ultimate event planning binder or digital dashboard, whatever you want to call it, for the ultimate planning binder, what are the things that need to be in there? Short form, shoot it all.
Oh, we got the timeline.
Final timeline.
Like your to-do list. Like everything you gotta do from, like when you say timeline, you mean like wedding plan, like the wedding day, or just like the plan, like, oh, yeah, okay, both timelines, budget.
All of your vendor information,
Yes.
all the contracts, guest list, yeah,
And
mood boards.
and all the pretty stuff in the back.
But all the logistic stuff too, like floor plans, seating charts, emergency contacts. That's important too. And also backup plans, if you need any, especially if you're booking a venue that is subject to the outdoors.
Or if you booked individuals who are family or friends who needed backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, that was a bit more rambly, but a quick list: final timelines, vendor contacts, contracts and invoices, floor plans, seating charts, mood boards, emergency contacts, and your backups if you have any. I looked up another stat because I wanted to really drive home the importance of having a day of binder like this. And event professionals, according to the Live Events Association Industry Report, say that having this centralized day of binder reduces on-site issues by up to 40%. I believe it.
It's a big percentage.
Yeah. I believe it. It is very important to have something like this, to refer to. And again, if you do plan on hiring support, it's a nice gift for your support person, for sure. What about staying organized on the actual day? What kind of things what kind of recommendations do you guys have for our listeners / washers?
You need to have a point person aside from the actual couple getting married. So be it your bridesmaids, best man, whatever, somebody who knows that binder start to finish as well. Because you are going to be preoccupied with enjoying your day and, getting all whatever you need to do done. And you're not going to have time to think about your logistics. So if you are not going to have a planner, have somebody, it doesn't have to be someone in your wedding party if you don't want to, but someone that you can trust to be able to manage the rest of the day for you.
If you don't have that person, there's going to be so many vendors and so many questions
coming to you.
at you, and you don't want to have to deal with that on the day of your wedding, and you want to just enjoy the day. So,
Yeah, I personally believe that how much you enjoy your wedding day is directly proportional to the amount of effort you put in the planning and preparation process. So yes, definitely appoint somebody that you trust to be able to take on this very important task during your wedding day. What about mistakes? What kind of organization mistakes have you witnessed, have you seen, that you can think of right now? And
Well, I can speak for myself.
okay.
Because at the time, you kind of like when you're engaged and getting married, I think you kind of lose track of time sometimes. Oh, that vendor that needs to be booked at 6 months out, you don't remember it if you don't check your checklist long enough, you know? So I remember you kept me on top of it. You're just like, Jules, you're getting married in 2 months. Have you done this? And I'm like, oh, shoot, no?
shoot.
So yeah, I think as I will admit, when I was planning my own wedding, like you get caught up in so many other things in your life too that you should really be checking in on that stuff at least once a week, just so you know what's coming or what hasn't been done.
I think for me, when I got married, it was definitely me forgetting certain things, me forgetting to write down certain things at that moment. So if I say, for example, get a phone call from a vendor, I forget what date or whatever they had mentioned. So I think the one common mistake that I see is people not writing things down right away.
Yeah, relying on memory instead of
Yeah, it's tough.
And like
You have to write it down.
yeah, that's a big thing. And another thing too is just don't be shy to delegate. I think a lot of people these days, like their wedding party, some people, yes, their wedding party, they're like your guests of honor, like, your best friends, but they're also there to help, right? And they want to help. And I think sometimes some couples just don't want to put anything on them. But on the day of, say you don't have any other support, that's why they're called your bridesmaids, right? Or your groomsmen. They're your people. So like, don't be afraid to delegate to them any kind of tasks that you aren't able to do on the day of yourself.
It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, I was the type of person to not ask for help during the entire planning process, but I was also type A, so I didn't need too much help. But yeah, my sisters were the ones that would be like, "What can we do?
What do you need?
What do you need?"
What?
You need to find people like that in your life, because it was, yeah. Sometimes if you're like me and you struggle with asking for help, you need these type of people in your life. Yeah, for me, I was the person that fell into the trap of using too many different systems, because I was so excited about wedding planning that I started a Canva board, and then I started a Pinterest, and I started a digital journal thing, and then I also did paper at one point.
So all the information was all over.
Yeah, so for me, I was the one that fell into the trap of using way too many things. Eventually I figured it out and I focused on that one thing, but definitely do not repeat what I did, which was being so excited that you start 10 different apps. Yeah. And then you don't remember which one you had that update on, and then freaking out because of that. Those are some of the common mistakes that we've seen for sure. Okay. If you had to pick one thing during your whole planning process, what is the one thing that you would not plan without? Obviously, not including things like the internet. Yeah, one tool.
I said I would not. My spreadsheets.
My calendar.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Spreadsheets and
My
calendar.
calendar.
That's all you need,
Yeah.
honestly.
And it has to have little spaces for each date. Or a big space. to write things down on.
I would say those are the top two. I would say. I think anything else can kind of get away with. I think whatever.
Yeah. I have no answer because I agree with you guys. So yeah, I would say spreadsheets or a calendar for sure is like the one thing we would never plan without. But to recap everything that we've talked about today, we recommend, if you are just starting to plan out your wedding, to start some sort of organizational system.
Yeah. Honestly, just start with a calendar and a spreadsheet. If you don't want to pay for anything else, you could make those two work.
Yeah, calendar or spreadsheet. That's really all you need to start planning your wedding. Okay, so if you are somebody that is feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now, I hope that you know you're not alone. There's a lot of other people that are doing the same thing with you. We're always ready to chat if on Instagram or TikTok if you DM us or anything like that. The very first thing that you should do is start this centralized organization system. Okay, choose one system and start doing everything today. All right, one step at a time. That concludes our episode about staying organized while planning your wedding. If you are newly engaged, congratulations. If you know somebody who's just been engaged, please feel free to share this episode to them and maybe as like a subtle hint that they need to get organized or something. I don't know. I'm just joking.
Welcome.
I'm just joking. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it would really help if you left our podcast a review. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Bye!